and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the one and only Kharlie Brown. And once again, it's time to go around the town with Kharlie Brown. I never thought in my life that I'd be making a video like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it. So, here we go. I just got done binge watching a marathon of the Twilight series. That's right. So, Twilight, the only movie in the actual series that I actually liked from beginning to end. But there were flaws and stuff within the movie that I really didn't like, and I already addressed that in the video before. I found 5 good things with that movie, even though I was saying that movie in a series is the best movie in a series, which is true. It's factual history there. But after Twilight, you had New Moon. And then after you had New Moon, you moved on to Eclipse. And then from Eclipse, you had Breaking Dawn. And then Breaking Dawn Part 2, which is the book they broke up into 2 movies, which is weird because when you watch the movies, Breaking Dawn is one book. But the way the movie is presented, it does feel like 2 totally different movies. But I can't believe I did it, but I did it. So here's to you. Thank God that was just water, because if that was alcohol, I'd probably be up my butt right now, but it's not. Anyway, so let's jump into this. Now, the reason why I brought this up for discussion is because there's a couple things I want to say about the series itself. After watching this series and understanding that the movie and the book itself, the books, was supposed to be presented as a love story, and they used vampires and werewolves, likings, whatever, as a way to tell a story. They use that lore to tell a love story, as well as things that are obstacles that are in the way within that love story. But really, when you break it down, if you ask me, now first of all, the movie wasn't meant for me. I am not the target audience for the movie, and I'm not the target audience for the books. But I love romantic books. I love romantic, romance movies. I wouldn't say books, more romance movies. Rom-com, stuff like that. And you know me, I'm into a lot of things across the board in general. However, with that being said, I don't think this is a love story. While watching it now and viewing all of them back to back to back, I don't know if it's different in the books, because again, I didn't read the books, and than what it is in the movies. However, what I got and what I came to, the conclusion that I drawn is that the movie itself is not a love story. It's more so about destiny. The 2 of them were destined to be together because of everything that happened, how they were pretty much drawn together as magnets. I don't think that was love. I think it was destined. They were destined to be together. They were destined to meet Jacob. They were destined to form this alliance that they did. They were destined to stop the ones that stopped. Basically, they were destined to meet each other so that all the events that happened were to happen. It was destiny. And I think that's why you surround everything around this. If you ask me, the 2 basic characters, which is the Bella character and how she was a shield, and how, but it was fascinating to Edward to bring him into, but that's not the other character I want to talk about. I want to talk about the sister who was able to have visions and stuff. And if it wasn't for her vision later on, that ended up stopping the conclusion. Now, again, I heard people tell me that it's different from what it is in the book and it's different than what it is in the movie. So I can't attest to how it draws out in the book. Okay, just like for example, the way that they ended the movie when they had that big battle, which I thought that big battle scene was amazing. Heads flying everywhere, people just being thrown everywhere, and it was like just desserts. But with that being in the movie, it wasn't like that in the book. And I've talked to several different people who said the same thing over time leading up to this point. Even when the books first came, I mean, even when the movie first came out, it was people that was telling me that none of that stuff happened in the books. But I was excited for it, and I loved that. Matter of fact, there's a lot of action sequences within all the movies that really drew me into it. Which brings me to what I want to talk about today. The Valtori, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Council of Vampires and everything surrounding them. When the movie ends, well, when the series ends, they keep making reference to, they keep saying things that make me think that there's more to come. Like, for example, they said things like, we're not going to fight today. There's no need to fight today. Okay? Then the other guys were like, well, they're on the run now. It's the perfect time to attack. And it's like, no, we're not going to fight. Save that for later. You know, basically, you're saying or setting up something else. Now, I think Stephanie Myers is a good writer in the sense that, again, this was not meant for me. Because, again, it's a love story. But if you ask me, it's more of a destiny story. These things were meant to have happened to get you to this point. Now, with that being said, I think she is a great writer to where when you look at a lot of writers, they write things, but they don't think about other things that they're writing within their story. Like, for example, they're writing things to set up, to tell, to get you from point A to point B. But a lot of times when they're doing that, they're actually developing other things in the background that is very interesting that you could turn into something else later. Like, for example, if you ask me, there's a lot more to the lore than what she created in Twilight. Now, I gotta say something negative first. I do not like the fact that they don't really have any weaknesses. Because, like, vampires that we've known, you know, they can't be out in sunlight. You know, they can't be around silver or, you know, crosses and stuff like that. They have to be invited in. Things like that, of that nature, or things that, those were things that were like basically like Superman and Kryptonite. You know, that was their kryptonite. But she pretty much took that stuff away. However, when I think about what she wrote and with everything going on in the background or just pushing the story and the narrative forward, I think that she did a good job with the Valtori because there's a lot of mystery and things revolving around them. And not to mention, when you will have flashback scenes, those flashback scenes were really interesting to where I started to think, hey, you can actually build upon that. She can write other books. Matter of fact, we can have other shows revolving around it. Like, for example, you have shows like The Vampire Diaries and The Originals. And are there other vampire... I'm pretty sure there's other stuff out there. But I found that stuff to be very interesting. And again, I wasn't a target audience for that stuff, but I really enjoyed the Vampire Diaries and the Originals and stuff like that. I really enjoyed those and the lore and the world that they created. I thought it was really cool. I'm really into vampires and you know, really into monsters, vampires and stuff like that. Anyway, you know, that stuff really draws me in, especially back when I was younger. And my mom and dad used to watch, you know, like the original monster movies, you know, like Dracula, The Mummy, Wolfman, things like that. And that's how I really got introduced to a lot of it because, you know, the old black and white movies. My mother was really into old black and white movies and stuff like that. And those movies drew me in, and I really liked them, the acting, the stories and stuff like that. Now, getting back to Stephanie, I really wish that they would develop more with the Valtori. I think, for example, you could have a series where it's revolving around certain characters from Twilight, okay? To where each character, it shows how they became the vampires and what they went through, okay? Because there was other characters and stuff I was really interested in, like, hey, how come he was there and how come he did this and stuff like that? Because when they got to the point where they talked about the one sister, the one that didn't like Bella originally, when they started talking about her and they showed her and how she became a vampire, basically, she was attacked by a bunch of men sexually and was pretty much left for dead. And then she exacted her revenge. That right there in itself is a good movie. I wouldn't say perfect, but it's a good movie or something that you can put out there as a series or whatever, where she's one by one taking them all down. Because you know how you have series now where you have like 6 episodes, 8 episodes to tell a story, and they do a good job with that. Matter of fact, if you look at like a lot of Marvel series that are currently out now, a lot of those Marvel series are only like 6 or 8 episodes, but they're telling a really good story over time, okay? Now, I would enjoy watching something like that because the mere thought, and even the setting itself and the time period that it took place in. Not to mention, I can't remember the character's name. I don't know how I'm missing everybody's name, but there was a character in the movie where he was trying to show them how to fight newborns. I cannot remember his name, but he was in love and with the girl who can see things in the future and stuff like that. So, and I'm sorry that I can't remember a lot of the characters' names. If anybody that watches Twilight, please comment down below with those characters' names, so that I can keep up and remember them for later on. So, but it was interesting how they talked about his character and stuff like that, and how he was showing them how to fight newborns and stuff like that. And they got into the whole battle scenes with them fighting the newborns and stuff in the second movie, and I mean the third movie, which was Eclipse. And not to mention, now that I think about it, the werewolves, the fact that they became werewolves, or that part of them came out when there were more and more vampires around, and more of them started to become and develop that skill. I mean, and became vampires. Became werewolves. That was very interesting. A lot of the stuff that they talked about in the movie, that was the lore and how they would tell little stories and stuff, was the most interesting thing about it. And I wish we would have dived into that more. The love story, I don't really care for it. I don't care. Bella and Edward, whatever. I really don't care. The love triangle between the two, which I understand what they did with that. It was all to get you to the ending, to where when Jacob imprinted, which I still think is freaking weird. I think if they would have explained imprinting more and better than what they did, I wouldn't have the feeling that I have in my stomach. I feel horrible, like, just seeing it, like, yeah, I feel exactly like her. You imprinted on my child? Of course, that seems freaking weird and crazy. But I think if they would have explained it a little bit more, and again, I guarantee you in the book, it was explained way more than what it was watching it. So for those of you who never read the book, I'm pretty sure, again, I'm almost sure. Because again, in books, you can elaborate a little bit more and explain things a little bit more than what you can in the movie, because of how you are condensing everything down into a 2-hour movie. Okay, well, nowadays you got like 3-4 hour movies, Justice League, whatever. But you have to condense it all down to tell that story. So in a way, a lot of times you have to dump things down too, to try to explain it to certain people, that are certain audience members and stuff like that too, which is kind of hard. That's why I think TV series are better than movies when it comes to something like this, because there is a lore that she created, and there is some stories within the story that we got. So that was the whole reason I wanted to do this video, because I want to really commend her for that, because I don't think, because I'm a writer myself, but I don't think that a lot of people give the writers the credit or their just due for creating the things that they created, the entertainment and stuff that we have, the things that we read, and the movies and shows that we watch. I don't think they get enough credit for what they deserve. Okay, whenever something negative, we'll stab them in the back about it. Okay, of course you have your fan base, but I think writers across the board, even if you put out something bad, I think you tried. That right there in itself is amazing. The fact that you tried to put something out there, whether it was good or bad or not. And I really wanted to put this video out there to say to Stephanie, thank you for creating this lore, this world that you created. Okay, and I I wish that she would see this video so that she would know that I think there's so much more to the story and so much more that you can build. So, like, when you think about Harry Potter, how they created Harry Potter and then they did the Fantastic Beasts and stuff like that, I think you can push Twilight more, but with the other stories that were within there. Now, I know your fan base is older now, and I don't know if they're going to come back and continue to watch it. But if there was a way, I know right now, not as a fan of the love story, but a fan of everything else that was going on in the background. You wrote the background amazing, and I will commend you for that. But if there was a way we can get money to tell more of the stories revolving around the Valtori, tell more of the stories revolving around the rest of the family, the rest of the Cullen family, tell more about the stories and stuff or the lore, the background. Like, go back and do practical effects and have beautiful, landscapes or the idea of that time period of when a lot of them became who they were that we watched in the movie. That would be great if you ask me. Again, I'm not your target audience. I understand that. But you made me a target audience of the background, of the lore. I thank you for that. Again, we need to start letting these writers and authors and stuff like that know how much we really appreciate the work. Because again, even failing at something, at least you tried. At least you put something out there that we can enjoy. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of Twilight. The movies have a lot of flaws and things in there I really did not enjoy. However, there are things within the Twilight series that I did enjoy. Okay? And those things that I did enjoy, I really wish they would put something out there and expand on it. If you can pick up what I'm putting down, Around the Town, Kharlie Brown. I cannot believe I just did that. Man. Ooh. I don't feel dirty though. I don't. I gotta go take those chips out there to put in my brain.